The honeymoon phase with Big Spender Carney is coming to an end, and I'm glad we're finally talking about the corruption that seems to be surrounding our election. So, welcome back to the Freedom Pines podcast. I'm your host, Jamie AB. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. It helps me get my name out there if you enjoy my videos. And let's get into today's video. So the honeymoon phase with MarkCarney seems to be coming to an end, whether that be just regular people who have been convinced to hate Trump so severely that they decided to vote in the same people that have ruined our country for the last 10 years. But the fact of the matter is that he's not standing up to Trump. In fact, all we have seen is him going to the White House and pretty much praising Trump for all of the things that he is doing to absolutely annihilate our economy. Okay, to uplift America's and to annihilate ours. I understand why Trump is doing the things that he's doing. Okay, I really do. Why does nobody in our government or media mention the fact that we already had 30% tariffs on goods from America? When I was looking up and having this mental breakdown crisis about the cost of living, because despite what my haters say, it was very much my job to budget groceries and to know. And not just groceries, obviously, like kids' presents. My husband pays the bills. I pay all of the other things. You know what I mean? Like, whatever. He pays for everything. But, like, you know what I mean? He's in charge of paying the actual bills. And I'm in charge of, like, buying presents and making sure Christmas is done and buying groceries and stuff like that. So, one of my only jobs right now, besides YouTube, because I got paid today. Thank you to everybody who has been watching my channel, because after many tears shed filling out tax forms for America, I'm finally getting paid. It is to budget for groceries. And we've always made groceries a huge priority, buying organic, buying everything locally, stuff like that. Since, I went vegan years ago and decided I cared about the environment and actually did all of the things that the government told me was good for the environment, But when I looked at all of the things that were costing us so much money, the carbon tax was one of them. But it was also the fact that we had 30% tariffs on goods. Now, I say that with full confidence because I could find that information before. When you Google search anything on Canadian Google, it controls everything you see. So everything that comes up from like Google page 1 to 5 is Donald Trump. And I cannot find the information because this was very easy information because it also went along with the fact that they were charging, I believe it was 100% tariffs on electric vehicles and electric things because we went to go buy solar panels and the whole part of the carbon tax is supposed to be there so that you're incentivized to buy green. But then there's nothing made in Canada that's green because even when Justin Trudeau got in, my husband, who built wind turbines for a living, lost his job because they didn't do anything to keep any contracts going there, which is weird, right? I discovered that we had a bunch of tariffs on everything. And listening to Elevate podcast when like Dalton was on, I figured out all of these different things because when he was talking about, I think it was Dalton because he's a landlord, talking about importing goods from America, there were so many tariffs on those goods that it made the cost go up and up and up. Okay, like this is the type of thing that I'm talking about. And now that information is nowhere to be found if you're Canadian. If you're American, please tell me if you can Google something that says Canada had tariffs on American goods before Trump was in, because we did. And actually they should have been taken off. They were making our cost of living higher and there is no incentive to have a business in Canada. So it was just making life more and more chaotic. What I can't seem to understand is how MarkCarney comes in and pushes. Do you think that they've used the last 10 years of pushing this green initiative? Because the things that they're about to do to our earth probably not good for the environment. I'm not kidding you when I tell you, go watch a documentary on Alberta. I wish I had one. If you guys have one in the comments, you guys know I read my comments. I might not answer right away, but when I do take the time, I sit there and I try to answer almost every single person, if not engage in the comment. Please let me know. And by the way, sometimes it tells me like, oh, you have 17 comments and then 13 show up. So I don't know how to see those. I don't know where they go. But what was the point of like telling is it because they want to do these new green initiatives and they don't want to have oil? I don't know what is going on, because in America, I'm not going to lie to you guys, a huge problem is, they do lobby the oil people a lot, and they do go to WAR over oil in America. But we have good sources of energy here, and I don't understand why they don't want to tap into it. I do not understand why. I understand that this is some sort of, hey, let's tell everybody. Well, like, I know it ushers, I believe, allegedly, that this is going to usher in communism. Okay. That's what I think they're heading towards. But what I can't figure out is why they pretended to give a crap about indigenous people and the land and not touch it, not let Canada prosper for the last 10 years. Why did they do this specific thing? Why did MarkCarney, why do they, genuinely, I just don't understand. I don't understand, because there's lots of money to be made in gas and oil. So why demonize it? I don't understand. And lithium, have you seen a lithium pit, an open lithium pit? I know I'm going off on a tangent, but oh my gosh, what is wrong? Anyways, people are seeing right past it. People are upset, especially about C5. So, we're going to head into the next conversation, which has to do with PierrePoilievre. So the fact that there are no footprints of some of these people that are in the 200-person ballot, first of all, I'm just going to say this. What pisses me off the most about this, and I'm just going to be very candid here, is that these people say that it's about injustice of being able to, like, this is the left doing this. This is the left admitting that they want PierrePoilievre gone. This is the left, doing anything they can, just like the guy from the Green Party said, to keep PierrePoilievre out of office, okay? And the fact that they make this hard for people with disabilities, because it's not just people who are in a wheelchair, by the way. I know that National Telegraph, I really cannot think of his name right now. You guys know that I know his name. It's like, I specifically have these disabilities that would hinder this. So if I had to vote for PierrePoilievre and I didn't have something, like, because of the way that my eyes work, I need, like, you know what I mean? Like, I need one of those things. I genuinely have the disability that makes it so my eyes shift when I'm looking at things. That's why it's a little bit harder for me to read. That's why I need like a guidance. I know it sounds silly, but that is actually something I have going on with my brain that I can't control. Not only that, it's going to make it harder for people who have who shake with, what is it? I forget what it's called. Parkinson's. If you have Parkinson's, that's going to be harder for this. It just makes me so mad that they pretend to care about people with disabilities and they truly do not give a crap, because this is not about making things fair. It's about you not wanting PierrePoilievre in. And that's also not democracy. These people should, like, there should be some sort of, I don't know, you should make something. I believe I was watching the National Telegraph and he had a good thing from Japan where you pay like a little down payment and you're guaranteed to have commercials. Yeah, because if you're running for, government, we should know who you are. You shouldn't just be doing this to make sure that someone else doesn't get in. Because then you purposely know that by putting all these people in there that you're going to screw up. You're going to mess this up for people and people are going to accidentally pick someone else. And that's your whole goal. And it makes no sense because that's not democracy. It's fascism. This is like, I don't even know how else to say. I don't really know how the left doesn't see fascism. And this is going to get into my next video about freedom, because I can't even... the next video I make is going to be so passionate, and I apologize ahead, because they are doing this to us at an alarming rate, and it hasn't been stopped. But the fact of the matter is that they control our Google. So in Canada, when you look up fascism now, okay, in 2025, it says they have provided a definition that shows up right away that says it is only far-right individuals that can be fascist, when really we know that it can be both sides. Now, when you looked it up in 2023, you could find the correct definition of fascism that said it could be on both sides right away. Now you have to dig and dig and dig. And if you don't believe me, because people in Canada think I'm making stuff up, I guess, if you go to Google and you're on your phone, at least on my phone it says this, like, some things have been taken away due to restriction prohibited laws in your region. Because they control the algorithm that we see. They control our Google searches. Hello, have you ever looked at what Google uses for PierrePoilievre's picture versus like MarkCarney or even Justin Trudeau? Very, very different. And to not want the other party to exist is fascism. That's fascism. To only want one party to exist. Now look what you've done. The left and smartvoter.ca should be ashamed of themselves. Like, in my opinion, it was voter interference even during the election, okay? To be actively running a campaign to have the people not encourage people to vote for who they think is going to represent them the most. No. Nope, not that. Let's vote PierrePoilievre out. Let's make sure PierrePoilievre can't get in. So now you've got a bunch of people pushing through projects when you could have had more voices that represented you, but Jagmeet Singh, the left in general, put everybody's ethics and morals on the sacrificial lamb that is Carney. And now look what you've done. Now you've got a bunch of Indigenous people that you guys say that you care about, speaking out against this. And I really hope that the Indigenous people and the government can come together and figure out, hey, let's not put this here because it's going to contaminate a whole town's water. Or, like, I don't know. I just really would love for everybody to work together, because on one side, I don't like the government taking over people's land. I don't like the government just putting things where they want to put them, especially when they're working with CEOs and it's like this whole thing. And trust me, I get it. I get that we need business, okay? But we also need regulations. And I just feel like because everybody on the left put their morals behind them and said, yeah, fuck PierrePoilievre, and we hate him so much, and not even actually doing the research or even watching a interview that PierrePoilievre ever did, or like not watching some hit piece on PierrePoilievre, not doing any of the research for themselves. I read Carney's but a part of Carney's book, okay, to get to know the other candidate, to see if I'm overreacting. And it's so funny how people, to me, it's so incredibly hilarious to me. And it shows how unbelievably cognitively disassociated the left is when they complain about that guy giving up his seat for PierrePoilievre. They kicked Chandra Arya out for MarkCarney. They actually kicked him out of the race, not only out of his writing, out of the race for leadership. And then, what did they blame it on? Probably the most racist thing you could blame it on: interference, despite not 3 weeks later discovering that MarkCarney benefited from Chinese interference. I quite often have massive boundaries for ingesting political and social commentary right now, because I am going insane. How can we live in this cognitive dissonance? I'm sure you guys who watch me understand what I am talking about. How can the left and as soon as I get into my video about the freedom thing, I am going to be passionate, and I apologize in advance. But I am watching history repeat itself. They are telling us, just like they did the indigenous people, that our culture is evil, that we are born racist, we are born evil, we are born to pillage and ruin communities. This is what they teach people about us. That is what they taught people about indigenous people before they moved them into reservations and took their kids from them and put them in residential schools. And no matter what you think about that situation, you have to admit the parallels are quite alarming. They want to take away even things that indigenous people were like herbs and vitamins and like natural things. The government wants to regulate all of that. I noticed this happening in 2020, especially with when I started to unravel, like when they told me that my great grandparents had something to do with, you guys know I've told you a million times, the residential schools and like being colonialists or white supremacists. I literally was like, no, that's too far. That's a bridge too far. I don't think my grandparents knew what was going on when they came over here. And I'm thinking, like, just like the immigrants do not know what is going on when they come over here. So unless you're somebody who comes over here just to commit crime, because criminals actually do know from other places, and it doesn't matter what color skin they have. Just to let everybody know that people will come over and take advantage of Canadian citizens because they know that they can get away with it. And actually, just like that guy, I got the story wrong. He tried to pay an undercover cop for you know what. The guy thought he was meeting up with a 15-year-old. And then that's when they were like, well, we're not going to do anything because it might hurt their immigration status. And then they turn around and they gaslight you and they tell you they have no right to be upset about that and that you're racist. But I'm here to find that middle ground that you can't argue with. You can't argue with logic. I am not going to sit here and be racist, but I'm also not going to sit here and let you call me racist anymore. Okay, I did that for a long time. I believed horrible things about myself because of these people. And I will be damned if my kids think that. And it's not about me thinking I am some sort of superior person. It's about preserving what's left of what we know of the world now. And I'm not even kidding. These are crazy times, and I really hope that you guys are taking the time to spend time with your families. I know I am. After my videos today, we're going to a Northern Ontario town that I will tell you about tomorrow, because I can't dox myself. Not that anybody would probably be able to make it there within the hours it would take them to get there, but you know what I mean. I have to keep it safe, but after this, I get to go to a beach, go do a bunch of stuff for free because we live in Northern Ontario. And, I'm going to not think about this right now. And as much as it's great that we pay attention to stuff and that we listen and we stay informed, it's also incredibly important to find the things that you love and enjoy those. Don't fall for the propaganda that tells you that you can't enjoy things because you're not paying attention. Don't let the elites have everything. Don't let them have the fun and the joy of life. We're supposed to have fun and enjoy life too. I know that maybe some of you guys are Christian like me, but in the Bible it tells us like we're supposed to not always be dwelling. So, and also says do not be afraid hundreds of times. So I always have to think about that and pray about it. But we also have to stay informed. We also have to have these conversations. I go back and forth. I'm like, am I doing a good thing by talking about this? Am I feeding into something? I think about stuff like that often, but I do think that our voices are meant to be heard. And I thank you guys so much because I got my first paycheck, like I said, and it's encouraged me to invest more in this and keep going. So if you guys have watched my video to the end, hit me with some sort of green emoji, and I will see you guys tomorrow.